Hello and welcome to Primetime Pastimes, Educating Lauren. I'm one of your hosts, Steve, and with me as always is our other host, Gav. Say hello, Gav.
Hello.
In attendance, we also have the woman of the hour herself, Lauren. Say hello, Lauren.
Hi.
Well, professional wrestling is, of course, the pastime that brings us all together, but there is just one problem. Lauren has only ever watched modern wrestling. So join us as we mine the golden era, be ruthless in our dissection, give gratitude to the attitude, and maybe uncover some hidden territory as we educate Lauren. So today's topic is going all the way back to 1991, WrestleMania 7. So before we do a deep dive into the show, Pav, what do you remember from WrestleMania 7?
Obviously, six was my first ever. So obviously, leading up to this is when I started getting the magazine every month. So it became a huge waiting event for me. This was like the first Mania that I actually actively was looking forward to.
Right.
Obviously, the whole Slaughter Hogan thing, and every month in the magazine there was something about it, and yeah, I do remember it all being a bit sensitive, should we say?
Well, we're gonna get there. We are gonna get there. So, Lauren, what did you know about this show before today?
Absolutely nothing.
Great stuff. Right. So, as per usual, I'm going to do a few facts about WrestleMania 7 before we do our deepest of dives. So, whilst the show was frequently referred to during the actual show itself as the largest pay-per-view audience in history up till that point, there were some massive caveats to that. Buys were actually on a bit of a downward turn at this point. The show was broadcast for free, however, on the Armed Forces Network. So, technically speaking, there were more people watching, but those people didn't pay for it. So that is a bit of a weird statement to make to start us off. There were no screens in the arena itself. As if you've seen this show, you will notice there is a lot of backstage interviews that go on for quite a while, and you can actually audibly hear people getting annoyed in some of the matches when they first start. There's a lot of empty seats in a few matches. Reports coming out of the show after this, fans were not happy. There was some drama around the seats. We'll get into that in a few minutes. But yeah, people were not happy that they were spending lots and lots of time with absolutely all to do. Multiple celebrities actually pulled out of the show just prior to this because of the perceived bad taste and controversy in regards to the actual show itself. What bad taste you might have, we're going to get there. That's the only facts I'm going to do on this one today. Because there is so much to talk about. For those of you who know where I'm going with this, don't worry, we are going to get there. If you've seen the show before and know all the controversy, I will be attempting to cover it.
Before we go on,
yes,
Gav's got a fact, and he's really happy that you've not said it. So
hashtag Gav fact.
I feel like Gav would like to share his fact that he found out.
Gav, share that fact.
He had to change the location because of low ticket sales from a 100,000 seater to a 13,000 seater.
Well, would you know it? What was I going to talk about right now? I was going to ask you, Gav, what do you know about this? So, do you know for why?
Death threats to Sergeant Slaughter was one of them, apparently.
Okay.
And low
so, yes, there is elements of that. There's kind of two main factors for this. So let's start with the wrestling factor. So you mentioned WrestleMania 6. WrestleMania 6 was the crowning of the Ultimate Warrior as the WWF champion. It was supposed to bring in a new era of professional wrestling into the 90s with Ultimate Warrior as the number one babyface. Not as such replacing Hogan, but building him up to the sort of similar level. So they had multiple main stars. Hogan felt like he was getting on a little bit at this point, was attempting to sort of step back a little bit, do some films. The Ultimate Warrior experiment was a bit of a mistake. We had dwindling audience numbers. We had poorly received matches. We had talent that did not like working with Warrior whatsoever. There very limited gentleman, shall we say, very opinionated gentleman, causing all sorts of issues. So by the time we got along to WrestleMania 7, well, even before that, sort of Survivor Series / Royal Rumble time, WWF officials knew they had to make a change. So they put the title on Sergeant Slaughter with the idea that it would be a transitional move back to Hogan. And of course, the good times rolled on from then, and there was no issues whatsoever. Hogan had been taken out by Earthquake previously in the year. So just following on from WrestleMania 6, they had to pivot to a different opponent for Hogan. It was Earthquake. They were going to build up one of Hogan's best friends as the eventual WrestleMania 7 opponent. Warren, the Natural Disasters.
Mm-hmm.
One of your favorite all-time tag teams. One of the Natural Disasters, Typhoon, used to be known as a gentleman called Boat. And he was a friend of Hulk Hogan that was being brought in. The original plan was to run with this Iraqi sympathizer gimmick, but they were going to have cheap tugboat. He was going to be the guy that was going to take on Hogan. They decided to go with Sergeant Slaughter. We'll get more into that in a little while. So, yeah, there was a lot of moves. There was a lot of changes. Hogan had actually left the WWF very, very briefly for a few months after WrestleMania 6 because he was squashed by the earthquake. Not an actual earthquake, the fella. Very, very shrewd marketing tactic. Chic tugboat, or not chic, but just regular tugboat. He asked fans to send in letters, which was a rather shrewd marketing move, so they could get everyone's details to send out catalogs, etc. So that is the wrestling side of it. What do you know about the Gulf War?
Quite a bit, because obviously my dad was in the army at the time.
That's why I asked.
Aware of obviously a lot of my mates' dads were being sent over to there, and yeah, it was a bit of a. I don't think, if I remember rightly, my dad was rather impressed with the magazines and everything. Because obviously I was in the WWE magazine with all that on. So
this was exactly the problem. So the Gulf War, essentially there was tensions in the Middle East, and they brought back Sergeant Slaughter as an Iraqi sympathizer, who was always traditionally wrestling against the old foreigner gimmicks.
Usually Russia.
Yeah, often Russia, but you had Iran as well with the Sheikh and various other foreign powers that were against the good old US of A. So yeah,
nothing changes
because that was what seemed to be built on. Them was country stereotypes.
You're sure right. So yeah, they basically brought him and put him in that role. There was tension, so they were building it up. We talked about General Adnan on our last episode, I believe. No, the first episode, Royal Rumble 1992. He was a genuine friend or school friend of Saddam Hussein. So there are actual links to that, which is weird. So he became the manager.
Were given to him by Saddam Hussein.
He wore boots that were definitely given to him by Saddam Hussein, 100% given to him. So yeah, he filled that role. The actual war was declared practically the same day as the Royal Rumble 92, and it lasted about a month before the ceasefire actually happened. So the war was actually over by the time we got to WrestleMania 7. But sure, the WWF didn't care. They mowed forward, caused a lot of bad press. People thought they were insensitive. They were trying to profit off the Gulf War. And as you said, yeah, the hatred for Sergeant Slaughter himself led to death threats. He had to move his family. A very well-known story that on several occasions he wore a bulletproof vest. So yeah, they ended up basically moving from a 100,000 seat arena. People have commented on this. And they didn't say it was for poor ticket sales, even though less than 20,000 had been sold even a few months out from the actual show. But people have suggested it's because of the security concerns. And I think there's probably an element of truth to this, because the original building, well, it was a coliseum as well. So what's stopping someone sniping, dropping a bomb or whatever on an open plan coliseum? The Super Bowl, lots of sporting events were getting cancelled at this point, but the Super Bowl actually did go ahead, and the US government foot the bill for security of that event. They weren't willing to do the same for WrestleMania because it's just wrestling. So, yeah, a little from column A, little from column B, but what was originally planned to be an absolute spectacle, biggest crowd of all time. It was just an arena, not just an arena show, but it was an arena show at the end of the day, and far less impressive. Okay, so that's that element of it. So let's break down the show itself. Obviously, we talked last time about the graphics for the show and the overall feel of the show. Lauren, what do you think?
I didn't get a right lot from this. There didn't seem to be much. I don't know, personally, I didn't seem to notice a right lot of graphics, intros, or anything. It just was a heck of a lot of backstage promos. And
One would say too many. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the opening graphic was Sergeant Slaughter and Hulk Hogan with a massive American flag behind. Only very brief, though, so I don't forgive you. I forgive you for not remembering it, but it did the whole Sergeant Slaughter growling into the camera, and then the even growlier Vince McMahon saying, WrestleMania 7. So, yeah. What about the commentary for the show? Just give me an overall sort of review of the commentary for the show.
No comment.
No comment. Wow. This makes for good podcast.
Now, looking back, it's probably one of the worst I've ever heard.
Really?
Yeah.
In what respect?
Just, there was nothing in it. They just repeated the same stuff every match.
See,
nothing.
I think my biggest... I say no comment. I think I did notice it, but I took it more as a wrestling criticism because I tended to notice it more in some of the longer matches. That it was like the match had gone on that long that they'd sort of run out of stuff to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get that. Some of the.
So yeah, I think it was more of a, for me, it was more of a, yeah, I saw it as it was the matches were that long. They were repeating themselves constantly, and it just felt like they were pulling at the shortest of strings, trying to find something to waffle about to fill the air.
And like every sort of now and again, will you stop that? And it's just constantly,
will you stop?
Yeah, that's it. That's all he kept saying.
It's funny how some commentators have the little go-tos, because Bobby Heenan, obviously he rants and rants and rants and rants, but the people he speaks with, you have Gorilla Monsoon that'll refer back to, will you stop? Or other things, like he talks about the Octuveral Perhuvius or whatever, and you have other people that have their own little sayings as well, like Vince McMahon himself.
I've just remembered something about the commentary.
Mm-hmm.
Why do they keep calling the fans humanoids?
That's Heenan's thing.
Yeah, that's a Heenan thing.
I've noticed why. What Elizabeth sat with the humanoids. So why are they humanoids? What are we in? Fucking Red Dwarf?
That's what he calls the fans.
So, did you get annoyed by that?
Yeah.
That's the point. He's doing his job correctly then.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move on. Well, actually, no. Let's briefly go back to the commentary. So we had Hacksaw Jim Duggan fill in for a little while. We also had Lord Alfred Hayes fill in a couple of times. Did the commentary get definitely worse at that point, or did you not even really notice?
I didn't even notice that anyone swapped.
I remember Duggan at the start, and then other than that, yeah, I didn't really take much notice. I kind of was just a bit.
To be fair, I've literally only just realised I have a note about Jim Duggan at the start of my thing, and then I've only just realised that he wasn't in the first match, and I hadn't twigged why he'd come out and made an entrance, but he wasn't in the first match.
Yeah, so basically, Bobby Heenan was transitioning to commentary and general personality at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever he was out there with one of his Heenan family members as a manager, you'd get somebody else just rolling in and doing their little bit. So yeah, that was it. I think Hacksaw did too bad at this. Really, I thought he was all right at commentary. Nothing particularly great.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that we didn't notice there was a difference, it's clearly not that bad.
Absolutely. Willie Nelson singing "America the Beautiful," decked out in whatever tap they could throw on him.
Yep.
It was like one of those. Like over here, we have them as like wherever you go into like major tourist cities, and there'll be like a visit London shop or visit Edinburgh shop, and it's literally every item you can find with a Scottish flag or a English flag or like a Great Britain flag or I love Edinburgh on it. It's literally like they've got an American version one of them and just thrown it at him and seen what stuck.
It's like a scattergun full of tats that they've just shot him right in the face with. It's hilarious. He does not look comfortable. It looks like they've grabbed him off the street and just given him copious amounts of drugs. And they might have done, for all I know.
When I was a kid, and now I avoid them like the plague.
Oh, fair enough. Do you know, Gav, why they sing American the Beautiful and not the national anthem?
No.
Vince McMahon's favourite song.
Makes sense.
Yeah, fair enough.
They sing the national anthem now, though, don't they?
I think they do now, but
yeah.
Back in the day when Wrestle was Mania in, it was very, very much American the Beautiful. So, yeah. So, match one, the Rookers versus Barbarian and Haku with Bobby the Brain Heenan. Lauren, what do you think?
I have a confession to make about this match.
You didn't watch this match, did you?
I did watch the match.
Okay, go on.
I didn't realise who was in the Rockers.
Okay.
I didn't realise that Shawn Michaels was in the Rockers.
None of them went on to anything big. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
I knew Marty Jannetty was in the Rockers, but I didn't realise Shawn Michaels was the other one.
Do you know what? That's totally fine. Well, if you've only ever seen modern wrestling, that is totally fine. And he looks very, very different.
To me, the Rockers are always talked about as the tag team. Like, no one really specifies a rocker when they're talking about them. And when you talk about Shawn Michaels, his singles run is far more notable.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Like, that's where I'm like, I know of the Rockers, but no one ever... It's not like with the Usos now, where someone will be like, oh, it was definitely Jimmy, or it's definitely... Like...
Big Jim.
Shush. He's got an issue with Big Jim at the minute, don't know why.
Enough about your private life, Lauren.
That's Big
You don't need to hear about it.
That's not Big Jim.
But yeah, my other thing was, as soon as I saw the Rockers... Now... Have we seen the Rockers before in one of the ones that we've done?
We have not. You have seen.
So.
You saw Royal Rumble '92, which was you saw a promo video of the Rockers disbanding by Marty Jannetty being a coward and jumping through a barbershop window.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Because my initial thought when I saw them was, "Oh my God, tassels! It's the model."
Okay. Yeah.
Just
Joey and Daniel love that.
Like, when they took the jacket off, obviously there was slightly less tassels, but yeah, my initial thought was just, it's Tassel Town!
Yeah? No, that's fine. What do you think about the actual in-ring work? Because they were always, the buzzword around the Rockers was always tag team specialist, because they did so many tandem moves. What do you think about that?
Definitely above and beyond what was going on, I think.
My note underneath Shawn Michaels is in the Rockers is double clothesline, oofed. that was a serious fucking, like, it was impressive. Their cohesion, I do have to say, was very, very good. Some of the stuff that the Barbarian and Haku were doing seemed a little bit more chaotic. Like when the Barbarian was like diving over the rope, holding Janetti's hair, that was crazy. I genuinely rewound that twice to figure out what the hell had just happened. But the Rockers just seem to be like, it's very much what a lot of our current tag teams are aiming to be like, when we've got like Act 2 and FTM and that, who are constantly like in and out and swapping and changing, and they know where the other one's going to be. You kind of you felt that trust in the Rockers.
I think it was the starting point of that style of wrestling in the tag team. They didn't have it like they have now, but I think it was the starting point of it all, really, I think.
I think you had elements of it in other tag teams. I mean, famously, the Rockers are a derivative of the Rock and Roll Express. They're a rip-off of the Rock and Roll Express to the point where the Midnight Express, Rock and Roll Express rivalry was so dominant when the Rockers first came along. The Rockers were actually originally called the Midnight Rockers, and they looked exactly the same. So they were doing things like that. But I think what happened with the Rockers was they did everything so frequently. So where you'd see one or two of these big tentpole moves in a tag team match previously, you may see 7 or 8 flashy moves in a Rockers match. It was just constant. It was electric. It was fun time. And you're right. People hadn't really seen anything to that excitement level before. Talking about a derivative, I'd be remiss to not talk about the fact that the other 2 people in the tag team, which is weird, are also known as tag teams that were also derivative of somebody else. You had Haku and the Tongan Kid were previously known as the Islanders, which were rip-offs of the Wild Samoans. Part of the same family, but still a rip-off. And you had the Barbarian, who was previously well known as a tag team with the Warlord, who were the Powers of Pain, who were very much a rip-off of Legion of Doom / the Road Warriors. So all 4 of these men derivatives of something else, but you would never know it. And they make it so good and so exciting to watch that they really do stand on their own.
My other point, which was really bugging me, was Shawn Michaels is a bigger dude than Haku. Stop saying the size of Haku compared to Shawn Michaels when Shawn Michaels is a bigger dude.
Don't you think though that the big man, small man in this match was better than any big man, small man you see nowadays? They know how to work that big man style.
But he wasn't much big. Haku.
No, he wasn't.
Like, but smaller than Shawn Michaels.
But they played it in a way that it was believable. So even though he wasn't much bigger, and there are some wrestlers that do this on the UK indie circuit. I always think about Bryek Strong, who wrestles a bigger game than he is, and he can really look like a powerhouse when in reality he's probably not much bigger than some of the people he's wrestling. But again, the psychology of this match for me was absolutely bang on.
This really made me laugh because I watched this as I came home from Catch Pro Wrestling. Where we had just had a main event that was Shredded Meat of Shreddy and Troy Ryan against Bred for Better, Brady Phillips and Riley Nova. Now, obviously, Troy Ryan's hugely loved in Manchester, so Shredded Meat instantly became the favourites. And the chant that the crowd decided to chant at Bread for Better was small boys and tiny boys.
Wow.
To the point where the crowd were actively trying to get the announcer to announce them later on in the show as small boys. And standing there looking at it, Troy Ryan has cut and shredded that much, whereas Brady Phillips is on a big bulk. That Brady's the bigger man, and
he's a massive guy.
Sitting there at the back, literally listening to people shout "small boys" at the biggest man in the ring, when Shreddy's also in the ring as well.
Wow.
It blew my mind. So to come home and sort of see that
this
dynamic still, like, it was quite entertaining for me.
No, I get that 100%. And shout out to all 4 of those wonderful wrestlers from the UK scene that we talked about. Love them all. There's one question I really want to cover, and that is that you might have heard people say this before, but have you heard the phrase, he's the Jannetty of the team?
Yeah.
So, Gav, explain what that means to anyone who hasn't heard that.
Whoever the tag member that doesn't become famous is the Jannetty of that team. So when they disband, the shit one's always Jannetty, basically.
Do either of you think that is a valid criticism?
No, because Jannetty's actually a far better wrestler by a long stretch. But personality-wise, no.
But
yeah, I don't know.
I think that still happens now. Like, we have tag teams in the UK, and I'm going to use FTM as an example. Tom McCall is not in a bad way. I love Tom to bits, but he is the Jannetty. As a team, Critchy. See, I've as a team, FTM are brilliant, but Critchy's the one that gets the recognition in the team.
Hold on, I'm just texting Tom McCall.
But then when you watch Tom wrestle, he's fucking brilliant.
Yeah, but people don't book Tom in a singles. People will book Critchy in a singles, even though they're both fantastic wrestlers. Because Critchy's the mouthpiece and Critchy's the one that everyone remembers. If you actually tune in and zone into one of their matches, McCall is actually the one that does the majority of the flashy wrestling. And I do feel like it's the same with the Rockers. Like, Jannetty would get in. I think that term of being the Jannetty of the team is used negatively.
I concur.
Because Jannetty is Jannetty for one.
His demons.
Let's not talk about the demons. I don't want to talk about. I don't want to go down that route.
I think that phrase has got more of a detrimental meaning. Because Jannetty is Jannetty, and we don't need to go into that. If you know the stories, you know the stories. But just because he didn't get the same fame as HBK did.
Yeah. And just to wrap up this as well, it's also worth noting that Barbarian and Haku felt very, very much like a thrown together tag team at this stage of their careers, because they've both been known for other things. Haku had a good run as King Haku as well, and did some other stuff with Andre the Giant. What's weird though is because pretty much a year after this, 2 years after this, they would reform in WCW as the Faces of Fear, and they lasted pretty much till the end of WCW. So they were quite a well-established team, but people don't ever really talk about the Faces of Fear.
Not really, no.
And it's just weird because here they are, before they became the Faces of Fear, in a random tag team, felt very, very mismatched and thrown together, would go on to be a very important tag team, a linchpin tag team, really, for WCW going into 2000, which is absolutely mad. So let's talk about the celebrity guests that are introduced. Regis Philbin, Alex Trebek, Marlon Maples. You know any of these people?
Jeopardy dude, because I've seen Jeopardy, and that's about it. And the other guy, talk show host, but I mean, a minor one for me.
Oh, he was mega. He was a massive, massive get for wrestling. Regis and Kathy Lee was a big TV show back in them days. So it was a mega get. So Marlon Maples is a singer-songwriter at this point, in the nicest possible way. Donald Trump was sniffing around, and she was soon to be his second wife.
Okay.
Was this the one in the white dress that literally just looked like she was there just for a bit of skirt?
That's exactly it. Unfortunately, and probably there because unfortunately
Trump was also there, as we saw later on.
Well, Trump is friends with the McMahon family, so it wouldn't surprise me if it was like, you could get that Marlon Maples involved. It wouldn't surprise me at all. So, match 2, the Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich versus Dino Bravo and Jimmy Hart. Any thoughts on this, Gav?
I forgot how much I didn't like Bravo anyway. This just confirmed it. He looked, I don't know, he had that look of a wrestler at the time. I don't know, it was just, no. I just didn't like that look.
Bret Hart didn't like him either. Apparently, he was the promoter as well in Quebec, so he got a lot of bad blood for that. Do you know anything about Dino Bravo, Lauren?
Nope, not a clue. He looked like he'd taken too many steroids and should be on World's Strongest Man, not wrestling. He was so like static and clumpy, and was not impressed.
Well, he was a Canadian strongman. That was his gig. Not prior to wrestling, but early in his wrestling career, he was a Canadian strongman. So that's where that comes from. Allegedly heavily involved with the mafia. 2 years maybe later, I think, he ended up getting shot 11 times because he was allegedly smuggling cigarettes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there was a Dark Side of the Ring episode on it, but I haven't watched it.
Oh, okay. I was very impressed with how easily Von Erich seemed to pick him up, though. For such a big dude. Oh. Like, I know Von Erich was big, but, like, he seemed to throw him about like nothing. Yet, with all that strength and all that power, his finisher was the claw.
Your favourite move, the claw.
After watching him manhandle a man like friggin' Bravo, for him to then win a match like that.
No, tornado punch.
Oh, sorry.
It was a tornado punch.
He wore him down with the claw thing.
He sure did.
My last note for that match was, thank God that's over.
Yeah, it wasn't the best. It was good though, because he lost his foot at this point. It didn't
get much better, to be fair. So
no, spoiler alert.
Next one,
so well, just before we move on, he had his prosthetic foot at this point, and I've got to say, yes, I agree. Yeah,
even more impressive then.
Well, what's crazy is that, yes, he manages to get him up dead easy, but also he takes a suplex on the outside of the ring with a prosthetic foot.
Yeah,
I mean,
did it really well.
I've got all the love in the world for the Von Erich boys, but this match was not it.
No.
Right. British Bulldog versus the Warlord with Slick. What do we think, Lauren?
So Slick, just know, I never ever want to see him again in my life. He's a very creepy, very weird, accented man. The manic laugh from Warlord was just...
I forgot about the face. I totally forgot.
Yeah, everything of that whole... The whole promo before that match was just an entire note for me. Davey Boy Smith, why is he talking to a dog? For one, I know he's the British Bulldog, but come on.
Possibly cocaine. But the real answer is that when they were the British Bulldogs, they had a dog called Matilda. Because when the British Bulldogs came in, Vince McMahon was very much we've got to give them an animal, pal. So Ricky the Dragon Steamboat had a what do you call it, little dragon thing. Jake the Snake Roberts, Frankie with Coco Beware. Frankie was a big bird, not from Sesame Street. That'd be weird, although better, I think. So lots of these wrestlers had animals. So the British Bulldogs had Matilda. British Bulldogs dissolved at this point. We'll probably cover the British Bulldogs in more detail at a later time. But British Bulldog, the name became the intellectual property of Davey Boy Smith. So he's able to be known as the British Bulldog at this point. And to try and he'd only been back in WWF a little while at this point. And he was trying to establish himself as a singles guy, had a really, really different haircut, but tried to keep some of the old British Bulldog stuff, like he had Winston instead of Matilda.
On the top, it just baffled me.
Yeah, well.
Do you know what baffled me?
Go on.
Davey Boy Smith, with his really thick Wigan accent.
Yeah.
Beautiful amongst them, a load of Yank accents.
Yeah.
Why is he announced from Leeds?
Oh yeah, they did that. Yeah, from Leeds, England. Yeah, it was so weird. It was so weird.
He's so thick Wigan accent.
Well, he's from
stood out to me in the promo, and then as they did his announcement, I was like, did they just announce him from Leeds?
Well, he's not even from Wigan, you know. He's from right round my end. He's from a couple
Goulburn,
of miles from me. He's from Goulburn. He's from a couple of miles away from me. So Wigan Borough.
It's the Wigan Borough, and he's got a very thick Wigan accent. So
yeah, but like he's been announced from Manchester at some point. He's been announced from Leeds. Yeah, don't worry
Manchester
about it.
makes a bit more sense though, because at least Manchester's like one of the biggest cities that's known in the UK. Where'd you pull Leeds from?
Maybe it's dog Leeds.
Yeah, never know.
Never know. So I hope you enjoyed. We've just broken Lauren. So I hope you enjoyed that match because weirdly, I don't know. This is another little fun fact for you, Gav. British Bulldog and the Warlord faced each other on 5 pay-per-views in this year. So every single pay-per-view of the top 4 that we usually have, plus the bonus pay-per-view that we had just one time this Tuesday in Texas, they were on opposite sides of the ring 5 times, just like Booker T. Weird, and everyone was bored of it by 1992. So that's fun.
What do you think by the end of this?
So, are you saying that the full Nelson isn't as good as the Iron Claw?
Not when you don't block your fingers in.
I did like a couple of moves in this. I really enjoyed
the double chin lock about.
Oh, yeah, that really annoyed me. There's a couple of double chin locks in this.
Doesn't even get his knee behind him. He's just standing there giving him a fucking neck hug.
Everyone needs a hug at this trying time.
Also, like, I can't remember which one it was because I haven't written it down on my notes, but the multiple bounces off the ropes before stopping to do an elbow drop.
Well, there was 2 really, really good moves. I really like the Warlord's belly to belly that he does, and the standing drop kick from Davey Boy.
Standing drop kick from Davey Boy Smith was absolutely beautiful. And
listen to how much the crowd are into it. The crowd loved this match, and I don't know for why.
And when Thingy got his boot up, that looked really, really good.
Oh, in the face, Warlord. Yeah, Steve Boy in the face. Yeah.
But other than that, I thought that entire match just looked so not painful. Like there was nothing believable in it. There was nothing to get your teeth into. And sorry,
they were chunky. They were chunky boys, and they were limited. Davey Boy used to be a hell of a worker, but he wasn't at this point, unfortunately.
He was right earlier on though, so he's one of them. Innit? He used to be quite a worker, so
he was incredibly athletic when he was part of the British Bulldogs, and he had some great matches with Bret Hart, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point. But this wasn't it. So match 4, the Nasty Boys versus the Hart Foundation. The Nasty Boys, of course, with the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. I just want to remind you of something you said on a previous podcast, Lauren. You said you thought Jerry Saggs reminded you of Dean Ambrose. Do you still think that? Go on. What do you think about it?
All I could see was Clash.
Okay.
That's all I could see.
Everything about the Nasty Boys just seemed so fake.
Okay.
And then Owen started.
Owen
Hart?
Bret Hart.
Bret Hart? No.
Yeah.
Jim Neidhart.
Jim Neidhart, right, okay.
Wasn't Owen, it was Jim. What that was about, I'm not entirely sure.
You've never seen him do a promo like
that. And then before. Bret was like the complete opposite and boring as fuck.
Have we talked about why Bret Hart wore glasses?
No, I don't think so.
Do you want to tell them, Gav?
I actually don't remember.
Okay, yeah, massive anxiety, didn't like promos, so basically put glasses on to sort of shield himself and have a bit of a layer of protection when he was doing the promos, and eventually that became his gimmick. So, yeah, he was always quite a shy person until he believed that he was better than absolutely everybody and everything. And I love Bret Hart, but God,
and then on the other hand, you've got Jim the Anvil, who looked like he was on speed.
It probably was. He's probably picked up some of the stuff that Davey Boy left in the background.
They were family. They were family.
They certainly were. This is my one of my worst promos of all time because I don't know if you remember what they actually said on this, but Jim the Anvil Neidhart said something along the lines of, "Well, Nasty Boys, to beat us, to break the foundation, you've got to be right at the bottom, and that's exactly where you guys are, right at the bottom." And I'm like, I know what you're trying to say there, Jim. I think you've just said that they can beat you.
Yep.
I get where you're going with that, but you have just said that they can beat you. Which,
my other favourite thing I never realised is that Knobs has Knobs tattooed on his arm.
Right, okay.
That was just great.
Well,
there we go.
I'm glad you're happy.
Oh, it tickled me.
So we talked about your disdain for the Nasty Boys, and I wish I could say that was going to be a surprise, given how much you were excited to see them in the Royal Rumble 92. But I thought she's not going to like the Nasty Boys when she actually sees them properly.
No.
What do you think of the Hart Foundation?
Overrated massively.
Oh, get in the bin.
Seriously, I just didn't. I remember them being huge when I was watching it, and then looking at it now, it's awful.
I love the Hart Foundation. One of my all-time favorite tag teams. Them, the Brainbusters, the Steiners, LOD, Doom.
LOD, Steiners, fully just no.
Yeah.
I think Owen and Jim was better than Brett and Jim. So
bold statements there from Gav. This was the last appearance of the classic Hart Foundation. And the match itself, any thoughts on it, or was it just sort of there?
Not really.
Right way with obviously the cheating win because it's the Nasty Boys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but like, what was with the ref was too busy kicking someone out who wasn't actually doing that much and completely missed the pin.
Oh, and why?
This was after we'd already had a fucking blind tag.
Why was celebrating doing that on the hands, not a tag? Because clearly it's a tag.
I can't answer that. Is the short answer. There's a few things in this show that I can't answer.
Like
as far as
ref on the floor and it's only a 2, not a 3.
Well, there's a lot of ref interesting choices in this match.
Terrible.
Speaking about the ref, I forgot to mention this earlier, but one of the refs on the show, Dangerous Danny Davis, who had a bit of a history with the Hart Foundation as well. Does anyone know about Dangerous Danny Davis?
No.
No, it just makes me think of Deadly Damon Lee when you say that.
Yeah, see, I thought you were going to go about Dynamite Lee, but okay, fine.
No.
Yeah. So one of the reasons why I'm so against referees having matches is because of Dangerous Danny Davis, because they had an angle where he was a crooked referee, became an actual wrestler for a little while, and he did wrestle as well. He was in the NWA and a couple of indie circuits as a wrestler, but in the WWE, WWF, he was always a referee, except for one period. His gimmick was still that of a ref, so he wrestled in like tights with the stripes on, etc. And when it failed, and he eventually tried to come back as a ref, and he did ultimately manage it, but it took him so long to do it. And that's a cautionary tale for me for referees planning on transitioning to being a wrestler. I just thought I'd mention that because Danny Davis is all over this show. A great referee, but again, cautionary tale about that's not going into wrestling if you're known as being a referee. There was also a seated chin lock in this match, and this is the importance of hard cam placement because you couldn't see anything that's going on, and they kept trying to move the camera around to see it, and just miscommunication after miscommunication. All you saw were people look back. I don't know if you noticed that, but it drove me mad.
Just that.
Because I love the Hart Foundation and I've got a soft spot for the Nasty Boys, so I thought this was fine. Jimmy Hart wore a helmet to the ring as well as his megaphone, just so they had a different weapon to use for the finish. That was kind of it, really.
I'm actually surprised you've not mentioned about his multiple jackets yet, Lauren.
I only noticed it this this time. To be fair,
right.
yeah, I noticed that he'd had.
Who's he? For anyone that's listening, doesn't know who you're talking about.
I don't know, the
Jimmy Mouth of the South Heart.
Yeah, him. He had. Was he out with the Nasty Boys?
He was out with the Nasty Boys. He was out with Dino Bravo. Out with a few people.
No, I remember. I remember clocking the Nasty Boys jacket, and then there was another one later on that I remember.
Yeah, he's out a few times.
Being like, oh, he's got a different jacket for each one.
Well, he used to do this a lot, right from Memphis. He said to make himself different from all the other managers, because he was a singer, and he was part of a pretty decent band in the 60s. But when he transitioned into wrestling, he said, right, he's going to go out with different coloured jackets for everyone that he manages, and that evolved over time. And he had the spray paint on the back of the jackets.
Very cool jacket. Like whoever's done, so talented.
Yeah, the air spraying is great, and he was renowned for that. And a lovely man. I met him at For the Love of Wrestling once. Lovely man. Anything else we want to talk about with that tag team championship match?
Nah.
Transition just to get the tag belts eventually on Legion of Doom. That was it, really. Just needed to take it off the Hart Foundation first. Right, well, this is what I'm looking forward to. Match 5, Jake the Snake Roberts versus Rick Martel in a blindfold match. Oh, no!
Blindfold match. They had bags on their heads.
That they could see through, clearly.
What? Go on, explain to me why they could see through it clearly, Gav, because I was going to talk about this. You can actually see, when they're putting the blindfold on, you can see Jake Roberts' hand up near his face, and you can see it through the mesh.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that, but you can see. You can see sort of when they go in for certain angles that you can see it's like quite a linen-y thin like bag, but then also there's a couple of times where, I mean, don't get me wrong, the pair of them sell the fact that they can't see very, very well.
It was a good idea. I like the idea.
There was a couple of spots where I think Jake the Snake goes to grab Thingy's wrist, and like he's felt around for where he is and he's figured it out, but then he just goes and picks his wrist straight up. So it's like he can clearly see where they are, but they did, through the majority of the match, they sold it very, very well. It wasn't obvious that they could see, and I think if I was watching it with just normal fan eyes, especially back then, I would have been like, oh my god, how?
Yeah, you'd just be like, that's why it worked.
I think this is the most interactive match in wrestling history.
And it was great because the fans were telling him where to go.
Yeah.
It's a classic, get on my side, I'm the face.
Yeah.
Cheer for me, help me. And it's a very clever.
Yeah, I agree. I think this match, out of all the matches on the show, and there's a lot of them, out of all the matches on the show, this is the match I recommend people watch. I don't think it's necessarily the best match on the show, but the in-ring psychology used in this match, considering how simple a premise it is absolutely fantastic. And it's proper camp show stuff. You put this in Butlins or Bognor Regis or Frith Beach or whatever, and yeah, that's just going to be
for a GJK show.
I was a little bit gutted that someone on commentary mentioned that if who was Jake fighting?
Rick the Model Martel.
That's the one, Rick Martel. Someone on commentary had said if Martel had brought a shirt with him and put it on, that he could have fooled Jake that he was the ref. And I was actually quite gutted that didn't happen, because that would have been another layer on what was already an entertaining match. Because it was when they got hold of the ref, you could see him sort of go to start to batter him, and then was like, oh, hang on a minute, no, this is not Jake, because he's not half naked.
We've spoken about this again recently about the fan interaction thing, because the Shitwolves did it, didn't they?
Who are the Shitwolves, Gav?
Like us, Jim.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, the OTT. But when so OTT came over to Wolverhampton possibly 2 years ago now, and we had Sunshine Machine versus Lycos Gym, and obviously face at the time. So it was very much, it had the potential to be one of those matches that the crowd would just sort of sit and watch rather than get invested in. And OTT, or the tag teams, I don't know who came up with the idea, were very clever in the fact that they basically had rolled up money and gave it out as a prize. So they split the hanger in half and made half of the crowd Sunshine Machine, half the crowd Lycos Gym, and whichever team won, they would throw the money out into the crowd.
Oh, that's clever.
And it was a really clever way to actually get the crowd to interact, because it could have been one of those matches where people would have just been like, oh my god, this is amazing, I'm just going to sit and watch and stare, rather than like backing, because there was no good guy, bad guy dynamic.
And it's so rare to get a fan interactivity up in a way that it sounds like both of those matches have done in that case. We haven't really seen it since.
I wonder, going back to this match, I wonder how much were Martel and Jake relying on that dynamic?
Oh, I think
or was that
his idea?
Was that a sort of a happy accident that the crowd got behind it that much? You know what I mean? Because sometimes there's stuff that the crowd do that you can't plan for, and I wonder how much that was a sort of, Jake did it to see if they'd react, and if they didn't, what was the plan?
So I think they're both incredibly well-versed wrestlers at this point. Both of them veterans, really. I don't know if you know this about Jake Roberts, but I'm not talking about his dad, other than the fact that he comes from a wrestling family, because his dad is a horrible piece of work.
Yep.
But his whole family's in wrestling. Rockin' Robin and Sam Houston, other wrestlers that relate to him. He lived and breathed wrestling. Student of the game. Went through territories like Memphis. No doubt would have met Rick Martel, who, even though he's still quite a young man, he was wrestling since he was 13 or 14 in the Quebec area, up where Dino Bravo was wrestling. So he made a great sort of showing of himself in AWA. Very, very experienced people. I think they were two very, very over characters, and I think this was probably the plan from the start. Plus, I don't know if you watched the promo package, but there was elements of this in the build-up as well. So you had Jake the Snake Roberts wearing his glasses, and when he couldn't see at all, and he was pointing. So there were elements of this. So I think they probably knew where they were going to go with it. But I also think if the crowd, the white eye, the white lens for only one eye for some reason. So I do think that they probably planned this, but they were good enough workers. I can't say enough positive things about the psychology of both these guys. I think they would have made it work anyway. I'm not used to seeing, I say I'm not used to, it's always weird seeing Jake Roberts as a face, but he's got such charisma. The promo he did before this and the promo he did after this later on in the show, when he's talking about Jeopardy. How can you look that intense and make a joke about Jeopardy? It's ridiculous. He's such a talented man.
I just don't understand how he's got a real ass snake.
He hasn't always had it. He's had it in WWF, but I don't know how much to go into about this. Probably not too much. But yeah, he was definitely afraid of snakes, but Vince McMahon suggested it. And like I say, at one point, Vince McMahon wanted everyone to have animals who had an animal gimmick.
No, but snakes are dangerous.
Yeah, he went through snakes regularly. So they had a contracted animal guy, I guess, who give him a different snake. I can't remember the actual time period, probably once every couple of months. It was never really the same snake, pay-per-view to pay-per-view, because the snakes would get aggressive and you can only have them that malleable for a period of time before you have to say, oh no, he's too dangerous now. You have to go on to another one. But yeah, they were constantly worried about that snake getting out, to the extent where Vince said, if that snake ever gets out into the audience, you're done for in the company. So yeah, but it didn't end well for the snake aspect of Jake Roberts, because I don't know, Google it, but Google why Jake Roberts wasn't allowed in the UK for a while. Yeah,
fair enough.
Let's move on from that. Nothing rude, but yeah, not great either. So, let's move on from that. We can talk about Rick Martel's future in future history in future episodes. Let's talk about The Undertaker with Paul Bearer versus Fly, Jimmy Snuka, another person I don't want to talk about too much. No. What do you think, Lauren?
Snuka was bigger than I thought he was going to be. I've never really seen. I've heard obviously a lot about Snuka, and obviously he was referenced quite regularly as with Tamina and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I always imagined him as a smaller man. So that was my initial thing of, oh, he's actually like fit with this era of huge jacked men.
Hugh Jackman?
Huge jacked men.
No, thank you. I'm full.
I'm gonna end up clipping that just for people to be like, what the fuck is she on about?
Go on, please.
I was talking about the Jack Stack Daddy earlier, so you know. Taker looks terrifying. Like, I think most of the footage I've seen of Taker from back then has been either like in-ring work that's been like hard cam, so it's been from a distance, or it's been like really grainy footage. So I think this is the first time I've properly, actively seen Taker's face up close as he gets in the ring. And whatever makeup and stuff he's got on to make all his eye bags look deeper and all his ring... He looks fucking terrifying. Like,
oh, yeah.
I didn't realise just how much effort went into that. Like, I thought it was a lot of just Taker being him, like, it was Taker owning the personality, and he's got that demeanour and that charisma and that character regardless, but the extra effort to make his face look like that, I hadn't realised quite to what level they did that.
Yeah, fair enough. Gav, what's your favourite version of The Undertaker? Because I'll tell you right now, this is my favourite version of The Undertaker.
I like the Ministry as well. It's a time
Ministry of Darkness
and the original for me.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
I'm a bit of a top boy, so.
Well, I know that's sort of why I asked. I mean, this is
like American Badass. At first, I hated it, but then I grew to like it a lot.
I love the American Badass because it's the one that he always calls back to, like when he does his comebacks and stuff. And I absolutely love coming to the ring with a motorbike and whatever. But I've always liked this version of his movements and how he works in the ring.
Well,
I don't think I've actually seen the Ministry and the Brothers of Destruction properly.
There.
So I'm really hoping that one of our pay-per-views this year will cover.
Not this year.
Well, I started kind of dressing like the American Badass. So when I used to go out, and I became the American Fat Ass. Was my friendly sort of.
Did people say to you, "Oh, Gav, you've done it now. You've gone and made a big mistake"?
No.
That was the opening line to the American Badass song. You've done it now. You've gone and made a big mistake. Anyway.
That wasn't Kid Rock, was it?
No.
That was the American Badass.
That was the American Badass. Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah. He had multiple theme music. He had rolling as well. Don't worry about it. Let's move on.
Oh.
So this is the first time that we've seen. Well, not the first time, but this is early into a management change for the Undertaker. So Undertaker originally debuted with Brother Love, who you saw very briefly in the first segment, in the prior segment with Jake Roberts getting sprayed in the face with arrogance. He was the original manager of the Undertaker, but they made a transition to Paul Bearer, and this is the first time you really start seeing the urn with the magical powers that imbue the Undertaker. Prior to that, you didn't have the urn. You didn't have. You just had
the run, wasn't it? This was the start of the Mania run.
Certainly was his first Mania.
See, I've never understood the urn because I've never watched enough sort of all together to like follow the story. But
well, you know how he got the urn, right?
No, I have no idea.
He earned it. I've blatantly stolen that from Bobby Heenan. I cannot take any credit for that.
I literally want to stop recording this podcast right now because I'm done with your jokes. But no, Paul Bearer. It wasn't. Hold my hands up. I really hope there's somebody who's gonna message this podcast being like, "Oh my god, I was today years old when I found this out." But it wasn't that long ago that I found out why Paul Bearer was called Paul Bearer. Because I feel like it's one of those things that it's because of the enunciation, especially with the American enunciation, you don't put two and two together. It's only when someone says it that he's Paul Bearer because of the pallbearers that you have at funerals.
Yeah.
It's a genius name.
Do you get what the Undertaker character is? Because not a lot of people actually do. His original character, they think he's an Undertaker.
Well, considering he's measuring someone up for a coffin, then yeah,
he's an Undertaker in the Old West, though. I think is what Gav's getting at.
Old West Undertaker from like
the 1800s.
The hat and.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, Gav. A lot of people don't seem to get that, which is why it's often coffins and not caskets. Because coffins, he's making his own, like he's in the Old West. It looks like a gunslinger. That's one of the things. Just because I don't know when we're going to talk about the Undertaker again, really, to this degree. Do you know that originally he was going to be called Paul Bearer? That was the original name for him.
The Undertaker.
Kane the Undertaker was the second name, so it was originally going to be Paul Bearer. Then they dropped that. Says no, he needs a bit more gravitas. Let's call him the Undertaker. And then it was Kane the Undertaker, and then it was back to the Undertaker again. But yeah, his initial debut, you can see on the graphics it says Kane the Undertaker as well. But originally he was going to be Paul Bearer. But they kept it in the back and they used it for Bill Moody. So
very good idea.
It's I think because we're not going to talk about Taker for a while probably. I think it is worth saying that he is one of my he is a lot of people's favorite wrestler. Like to a lot of wrestlers' favorite wrestler, and a lot of wrestlers that people wouldn't think like preppy pink Barbie princesses will turn around and say, "The Undertaker's my favorite wrestler."
That's still that. I'm not going to say who it is, but that still amazes me that particular person's favorite wrestler is the Undertaker.
But there's a reason why, and everything he does in a ring has purpose. Yeah. Like he is the epitome of big man, sort of not having to do as much, but then everything he does do, he makes look so easy. Like, going back to my point earlier about how Snooker was bigger than I thought, doesn't matter to Taker. He lifts him up and throws him around like he's a child.
I did want to ask you, what do you think about the tombstone that he gives in this? Because it was a little janky.
Yeah, Snooker seemed... I wasn't sure whether it was a different way, like whether Snooker had taken it differently, because he very much doesn't look dangerous because he very much tucks his head and lands shoulders, but it's very different.
It did look janky.
Yeah, it's very different to how you would normally see it performed and taken.
So I think that this is probably because he was still new to the character. He hadn't been using the Tombstone Piledriver prior to this. He used to do a choke slam and your favorite move of all time, the claw, as his finish. And also the heart punch as well, because in different variations of the characters, he was Big Red, he was Mean Mark Callis, he's been a few different characters, but
that's really upsetting that the Undertaker used the claw.
Deadliest move in wrestling. Gav killed a man with it. So there's that. But yeah, one thing I did want to just talk about with the Piledriver is everyone says that he sort of invented the pile driver. He didn't. It's been around since the 30s, and this is one of those situations where WWF sort of controls the narrative, like where Hulk Hogan was not the first person to slam Andre the Giant at all, but that's one of the narratives that they did. But even a couple of years prior to this, Andre the Giant was tombstoning people. Very, very famously, the Dynamite Kid, Davey Boy Smith's partner in the British Bulldogs, was using it. And various sort of other people. Al Gotch, who's the classic wrestler, used to use it as well. So yeah, it's just revisionist history that the Undertaker developed this move.
He's just the one that's made it the most famous, isn't he?
Oh yeah, 100%. But I will say that Dynamite Kid using it in Japan just looked vicious. So if you ever Google that was fun. There was a lot of controversy. We're probably not going to talk about Tuesday in Texas, probably at all, because it's kind of like a nothing pay-per-view. It's not really important. We've covered Royal Rumble '92, which is happened just prior to that. So we're probably not going to talk about this Tuesday in Texas, but Hogan didn't get anywhere close to injuring himself on the tombstone in this Tuesday in Texas. But that day haunted The Undertaker's career for years because he dropped him, and then Hogan complained that it was a dangerous move. But if you actually look, he dropped him on a chair on the story. He was nowhere near the chair if you watch it back. But people didn't watch things back as religiously back then.
Hogan and said he couldn't move, he was paralyzed.
Exactly that. So this perceived bot, which it wasn't, but this perceived botch sort of haunted The Undertaker for years and years and years, really.
Hogan,
and I think that's why
would surpass him. That's all it was about.
Possibly.
Knew it.
We do know that Hulk Hogan was flexible with the truth on occasion.
Mm-hmm. No. A little bit.
Founding member of Metallica, and I believe he invented the question mark. Right. Ultimate Warrior versus the Macho King, Randy Savage, with Sensational Sherry.
I remember this being an amazing moment when I watched this match. It was huge.
Which moment specifically?
Just the whole Elizabeth Macho Man and everything, and the way it all came about. And then watching it now, it was a bit like, I knew it was coming, and obviously the luster had gone because I knew the history behind it, the real history. It's kind of tainted it a little bit, and I'm a bit more,
Well, talk to us about the real history, Gav.
Well, obviously they were a real partnership, and she cheated on apparently on Macho with Hogan, and it was just.
I don't think that element's ever been proven. Again, we'll probably talk in long form about Randy Savage on one of his better matches, maybe WrestleMania 4 or something, when it's more about Randy. But they had a relationship where he was essentially locking her away in the dressing room, not letting her interact with people. Being overbearing. Been married for a very, very long time at this point, but currently under a separation for two reasons. Number one, they were growing apart. And the second reason is because they would eventually go on to get married in the ring, and they wanted to be able to tell people, oh yeah, we're not married. And that's one of the ways they did that. But very much on the outs with each other at this point, despite a glorious and emotional reunion at the end, which had legitimate people crying in the audience.
Yeah, it was a massive moment. I remember it quite well.
What do you think, Lauren?
So for me, I've said obviously the ending probably would have been much better if I'd followed the story. Watching this as a one-off, it was a bit but you could tell that there was, from the crowd's reaction and stuff, you could tell that there was genuine emotion in it at the time. And I feel like watching it, even if I'd watched it now, if I'd have watched the 12 weeks of programming running up to it, it would have had more effect. But otherwise, I just had lots and lots of issues with this match, and it was so fucking long.
Was it?
Tell me the issues.
I wonder.
It was everything. Literally, I'm literally just going to run down my notes right now.
Run down those notes.
Why is he called the Macho King?
Okay. Gav, do you want to explain that?
King of the Ring. wasn't it?
So King of the Ring was a tournament, although it wasn't a pay-per-view at this point. So yes, he had won the King of the Ring.
Okay. I don't have an issue with that now. Then if he's because of King of the Ring, I get that.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that. Mm-hmm. Was the close-up of Sherry's bum so many times really necessary? Why was it not a DQ when she got involved? Was the ref because it didn't seem like the ref was distracted, but then she got involved again and the ref was distracted, so I didn't know whether I just missed the ref being distracted. The ref was also very, very hands-on, like literally trying to pull people out of a submission and also shoving Sherry out of the ring. Warrior was almost passed out in a submission and then 10 seconds later was jumped up and was running the ropes. Like,
that was Warrior.
Make it believable, guys. Then he shakes the ropes and suddenly he's got power.
Yeah, that was a thing. That was a regular thing.
Like we have mad things in Brit Rest, like Session Moth gets power from drinking Red Stripe and stuff. At least that's sort of vaguely believable.
No, Red Stripe just gives me wind.
So many bumps from barely anything, like literally a clothesline and someone's on the back. A flipping accent, they're on the back. Why? The elbow drop, the first elbow drop looked like he broke his fucking jaw. Then there was another 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then he kicked out.
Yeah.
No. None of that match made any sense at all. And then the aftermath with Sherry hitting the wrong person with the shoe and then kicking off and then booting Macho Man, and then it was all just too much, and it genuinely felt like that match went on for an hour. I feel like I could have watched a Royal Rumble in a shorter amount of time.
Well, first of all, well done for saying kicking off after talking about removing a shoe. Glorious stuff. The second thing I want to talk about with that is if you'd have talked to people at the time, as Gav alluded to, they love this match, but I think it's because they were two over the top characters, and that sort of carried it. In retrospect, I would have said, yeah, this is one of the better matches on the card. But it's still not particularly a good match. And as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of issues with the ref there. I think this is where commentary should start saying things along the lines of, well, the referee's being very, very lenient because this is a person's career at their hands at this point. And I think there should have been more of that weaved in. And to the ref's sort of credit, he probably thought that sort of stuff was going to get weaved into the narrative. Because again, title matches.
That was mentioned at the start, and then that just seemed to be the end of it. Like, it wasn't mentioned again. Did Macho Man actually retire after that? Like, what happened?
Is that an actual question? Right, okay, so...
Because there was nothing at the end of that match to indicate that was it, or... Do you know what I mean? Even though it was made very clear at the start that it was... Elizabeth was there to potentially see him lose his career, and
so it's very weird, this, really, because really the wrong person went away for a while, and I'll get into it, but the original plan was for Randy Savage to take a step back from wrestling, go into a commentary and backstage role, and he sort of, by all accounts, changed his mind. And this happened a couple of times in his WWF career. Eventually, he fully moved on to a commentary role and then got fed up and went to WCW. But at this point, he was testing the waters of going on to a commentary role, backstage producer, yada, 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 yada. But it really wasn't a right fit at that point. He clearly felt he had more to offer. And he was back in November. On the flip side, let's talk about the Ultimate Warrior. So the Ultimate Warrior, again, he's just coming off his WWF Championship run, and he was very much planned to be in the thick of things for a long while to come as one of the highest produced wrestlers moving forward into the 1990s. But SummerSlam 1991, he screws the pooch, and I won't say exactly why because we might cover that at some point. But he's out the door after SummerSlam 1991. We don't see him again for a little while, and when he does come back, he's out the door fairly soon after that. So this was kind of the end for the WWF Classic version of the Ultimate Warrior. The wrong person lost that match, I guess, in hindsight. But fun thing about this match, which I'll just whilst I've got it fresh in my head, I'll talk about. Gav, do you know that Macho Man Randy Savage would often give little Easter eggs in his ring gear as to what was going to happen in the match?
I think I've heard this. I don't remember what it was though.
So this is a classic example. So by the end of this match, he was going to obviously turn face and become a good guy, which is why he wore white to the ring. Something he didn't usually wear white, but he was preempting the fact that he was going to turn into a good guy by the end of it, and also preempting that they were going to eventually leading to a wedding. Another couple of good occasions of this is he's worn gold when he's about to win world titles, and also when he got attacked by Jake the Snake Roberts, he wore in the actual snake itself, he wore green. So he would often give little precursors to what was going to happen in the match based on the ring gear that he would wear, which is a lovely little example of that. The match itself, I thought the ending was diabolical. It came out of nowhere to the fact as well that the commentators. Sorry, I've lost my trail of thought there. The commentators were in the middle of saying something else, and then it was like, "Oh no, okay, no, he's won." It just seemed to come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
He had a foot on Randy Savage's chest, which it might have been Randy's idea, knowing him, but it still seemed very, very, very disrespectful. Just not a fantastic match in hindsight. But at the time, little 10-year-old Steve was like, "Oh, this is the best thing."
Me. I loved it. But
the first time we saw Ultimate Warrior in his Duster outfit as well, and the first time he really walked the ring rather than running, a lot of people would say that the best thing about the Ultimate Warrior was his entrance, and that entrance just doesn't exist in this match, which is weird.
The only good thing about the Warrior, really.
I didn't like the Ultimate Warrior's work. I did at the time, but
yeah, back now when you watch him,
yeah,
there's not a lot.
I mean, I was probably about a year older than this when I started thinking, "Oh, wait a minute, is he shit?" So it was only about a year or so after this when he came back for his other run. Really, I think it was probably SummerSlam '92. I think where I was like, "Hold on a sec, this is awful."
Yeah.
Which was a shame, really. Anything else we want to talk about with the King and the Warrior?
No, I just have a note from the the wrap up of this match. I think it's the next promo. With you talking about like how you felt differently at the time. Probably the biggest example and why I said what I said earlier that was very out of character for me. It was definitely a different time when someone straight down the camera looks at it and goes, "I'd rather have money than some skirt."
Yep. Yeah, nothing to say about that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then I feel like we're at the point now where everyone in the arena would have lost the will to live because I kind of did too. There was like
it's funny you should say that.
There was a weird Taker promo, and then there was something else from was it
Tenryu and Katao?
Yeah, that was the one. And then so much random face paint on people, and why so many nothing promos? There were so many promos that said absolutely nothing.
The Tenryu and Katao thing was pretty much off, aren't you? That's weird, isn't it? It was pretty much that. It was awful. So racist. Yeah, it was so racist.
It was beyond racist. The fact that was acceptable to the point of no one would have cared.
Yeah.
The point people would have laughed at it.
Yeah.
Speaking of racist, did you hear some of the comments surrounding how to seed this in? Because I'm going to talk about it later. Did you hear some of the comments around the way that police in the area of LA at the time were behaving and talking about riots.
Yeah.
We'll come back to it, but it's seeded in here. A couple of little shots at riots that are going on in LA, but we'll come back to that. So, match 8, Tenryu and Kitao versus the Smash and Crush version of Demolition with Master Fuji. Just to you, Gav, first. Smash and Crush, as good as Axe and Smash, or what?
What annoyed me more is that they announced them as Axe and Smash when they came to the ring.
They sure did, buddy. They sure did.
No, I don't think you can beat Axe and Smash.
No. What surprises me, because you, on several occasions now, you said Crush is your all-time favourite wrestler.
He is, but that's Kahuna Crush.
Yeah, okay.
No, I do like Crush in that tag team, well, as a throuple, but...
I don't think we should call it throuple.
A trio or a stable, not a throuple.
Whatever it was.
Have I told you that Barry Darsow Smash came up to me once and hugged me?
No.
Yeah, so I was at For Love of the Wrestling, and he was doing a like one of these audience talks, and I'm just engrossed with Axe and Smash. I love Demolition, and I don't like. It feels weird to me paying to meet people because it feels very, very artificial, etc. So every time I've met people who I've thought of as being like legends to me as from my childhood, I've always met them in natural circumstances, with the exception of Jet from Gladiators. I did pay to see her, and it was great. But yeah, Barry Darsow walked past me, probably on his way to the loo or something. Obviously, recognised me from the Q&A session and how engrossed I was, and just came over and hugged me, and then walked off. And was like, "Oh, that's one of the best moments of my life." Barry Darsow just.
I have never been to like a Comic-Con or anything and paid to go and be. I won't do it.
Well, my friend Mike was there right next to me, and he just stood there open mouth. And as soon as he went on, I was like, "What just happened?" I was like, "I don't know."
Did he know? Has he seen you ref?
Well, I think I'd maybe refed twice at that point. I'd only just started, so yeah. Anyway, but it's not about me. Let's talk about this.
Do we have to?
We do have to, but I'm not going to spend too long on this. But I want to just call back to something you just said. You said how everyone was exhausted by this point. Had you seen how many empty chairs were in the building on this match?
Yep.
They probably thought it was a long interval, and those who were there weren't interested. It was just an awful match. The last time we would see Demolition at a WrestleMania, Axe is already long gone at this point anyway, so it wasn't really Demolition. Basically, once LOD had come in, they didn't need Demolition anymore. Just parked off to one side. A working relationship with a wrestling company. Let me just check my notes on this, otherwise I'll forget it. SWS, which was All Japan and New Japan's sort of brand new competitor. Wasn't doing very much, but Tenryu was a big part of that, who would go on to be a massive star in Japan. I just want to talk to you very, very briefly about Kitao. Other than the fact that people were very racist to him and referred to him as tea towel in the actual show, which I thought was a little hilarious, but also very, very bad taste. What does anyone know about Kitao at all? Is it a name that's come up?
Not a thing.
So the reason I mentioned this is because this is something that went viral a few years ago. What happened was he was a sumo wrestler, and primarily a sumo wrestler, and he had a wrestling match with Earthquake in Japan. And Earthquake was actually a champion sumo wrestler. I don't know if you knew that as well. Yeah, so he was to the equivalent of a Yokozuna level, not the wrestler Yokozuna, an actual Yokozuna, who's a very, 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 very athletic big man and very, very big in the sumo world. That's how he sort of got started. So this Kitao was a bit of a dick, and he was sort of trying it on and trying to work in some real moves and trying to overpower Earthquake to make a statement. Earthquake, as I said, very, very talented man, had none of this, and there's video of him basically ripping him a new one during the match and overpowering him. Kitao launches himself out of the ring, gets on the microphone and says, "Oh, it's rubbish. Wrestling's all fake anyway." And he was blacklisted. But yeah, that was a video that was going around probably 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago. Quite a big deal. That's the only thing Kata was really known for, because obviously he was blacklisted shortly afterwards. But I just thought that's something we're probably not going to talk about ever again, so I'll talk about it.
I did feel like when I was watching this match, I wasn't sure. It felt like there was no reaction to it, but I wasn't sure why. And my assumption was that obviously, up until very recently, we've had very little crossovers between companies, countries. The idea of WWE, WWF working with anyone was very like, no. So I assumed that basically no one knew who these Japanese people were.
It didn't really.
Not a clue.
I hadn't the fact that this match was coming off the back of multiple promos that I now know that the crowd in the venue couldn't see makes it 10 times worse.
Yeah. Not a lot to talk about. It's just a bad match that ended bad. Loads and loads of mistimings and miscues. Let's move on to the Mr. Perfect promo, where he even more obviously has jibes of Rodney King. He even makes comments along the fact of you'll never see him get 11 lashes. Do people know who Rodney King was and what all that was about?
I think our age do.
Go on, Gav, tell us.
No.
Okay. So, Rodney King was a fellow in Los Angeles, California, who was stopped by police. Police brutality, was caught on camera, and he was received like 11 lashes, as Mr. Perfect said, got brain damage, and the treatment was so bad that there was... can't remember how long it went on for, but it was multiple days worth of very, very, very bad riots.
They ripped LA apart.
Yeah, I mean, again, the film student in me will always revert back to films. There's a lot of films that are sort of based on this, maybe not the actual event, but the riots and yeah. So culturally important.
What was the film that really used it? It was the world they locked down everywhere.
Honestly, there's quite a few, so I don't know if we'd be thinking about the same one. Spike Lee used it in a few of his films, yeah. So yeah, it was very, very poor taste, considering they were already being done for having massively poor taste over the Iraqi War, Gulf War. Bloody awful. So yeah, as much as I love Mr. Perfect, this was just a bad decision to go
Mr.
there.
Perfect.
Love Mr. Perfect. He's one of my top fours.
Absolutely amazing.
My top four are probably Owen Hart, Bret Hart, Mr. Perfect, Great Muta. Probably. This wasn't the best Mr. Perfect match. When we start seeing Mr. Perfect versus Bret Hart, you'll see what I see, no doubt. No, some diggity. But yeah, I love Mr. Perfect. So let's talk about Mr. Perfect with Bobby Heenan versus the Big Boss Man. Lauren, I'm guessing that you hate the man. You don't like him at all.
From this match, yeah. Like,
right. Interesting.
People call Dolph Ziggler for overselling.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
This man was doing full flips from a flipping slap.
Yes, he was. That's what he was known for.
No, don't like it.
No, that's fair enough. I get it. I get why that would put some people off.
I always assumed Boss Man was a big heel.
He was most of the time, yeah.
Well,
but I really like him. Like we've seen him a couple of times. He was in the Rumble, wasn't he? Was he in?
He was.
I've seen him in something else as well. I don't know what.
You've seen him in different
I really like Big Boss Man. But yeah, my overarching notes from this match was Mr. Perfect needs to stop flipping because everything just lost any effect. Like, he flipped from a slap at the start of the match and then he got thrown into the buckles and did a full forward flip, and I'm just like, dude.
Funny enough, I think that's what a lot of people like about him. He's not particularly what I like about him. I like his technicality more than anything else, and I love the Perfect Plex. But yeah, I can understand.
He's so athletic, but it's like it has no impact because it's constant.
I what gets me with it, I kind of remember Mr. Perfect's overselling is what Shawn Michaels did for Hogan.
Yeah.
Every bit.
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah.
Gone. Yeah, he was just completely.
Well, they're all Minnesota boys, so they were friendly as well. Mr. Perfect is sort of the guy that allegedly originated the quote unquote Wolf Pack, which would eventually turn into the Clique and the NWO. He sort of started that all. So yeah, I'm sure Michaels borrowed quite a few things from his playlist. Probably the best match of Bossman's career, I think. What do you think, Gav?
Probably. He never really had stellar matches. He was just a nice dude. He just always seemed to be, and a hell of a lot bigger than I remember.
I see. I was going to say he's the thin boss man in this. He's lost a lot of weight.
He didn't height-wise. Andre, yeah. Not that much.
Well, he was in a tag team called the Twin Towers.
I didn't realize he was 6'8". That's all.
Yeah, I do agree. As much as I didn't like Mr. Perfect, I enjoyed the match. This was probably this is probably one of the matches I enjoyed the most. Even though Mr. Perfect's flips annoyed me, it was a match that made sense to me. The story evolved, and then obviously with Andre coming out, I liked the way it finished. And I did have the one question: was Andre still wrestling at this point?
Not really. He was a personality.
I say not really. Walk like he had no business being around a ring.
Yeah, I say not really because he did. He spent a little bit of time with Herb Abrams in his promotion, very, very briefly. So technically, he did wrestle around this time, but not really.
Yeah.
He was renowned. Him being Andre was renowned for hating other big men and not wanting to work with them because he thought they would encroach on his territory and take his spots, etc. So it was unusual for him to be seen putting his stamp of approval on another big man like the Big Boss Man. So that was lovely to see. I'd forgotten that had happened. So that's nice. But yeah, obviously Andre was on his way out at this point.
Obviously again, with not knowing the story coming up to this of why Andre had come out and blah blah blah, I still felt like there was enough sort of context around it that it made sense. Like I say, him with the belt and commentary explained enough of it when he was stalking around. And do you know what I mean? I most of my issues from most of the stuff we've watched so far on these 3 episodes has been that it's very unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
And this one felt, like I say, other than Mr. Perfect's flips,
although
this felt very believable.
Just great. When Andre hits him.
Yeah.
That was that was great. Because that really worked for Andre.
Yeah.
I can understand where you're coming from with the flips. It never bothered me because he was always portrayed, even though he was quite a big guy himself, really perfect. He was always portrayed as the shitty little heel. So I didn't have a problem with this. This is ref brain here, and I sort of at the beginning of these series, I said to Lauren and Gav, I didn't want to really talk about the fact that I am a referee. If it comes up, fine, but I don't really want to go on about it. This is one of those instances where it's absolutely come up because then you'll know. I don't know if you even recognise this bit. You might have missed it, but there is a section where they're setting up a spot where the buckle pad is taken down to expose a turnbuckle. Does anyone remember what happened next? It's okay if you don't. So what happens is Perfect immediately drops the turnbuckle pad. Bobby Heenan, the manager, immediately grabs it and throws it under the ring. Now, you might say, well, why is that so impressive? This is why that's so impressive, because what you've done is you've made it so the referee can't leave the match to retrieve the turnbuckle pad. You've made it so he can no longer get the pad and put it straight back on the turnbuckle cover, so he's got to stay in the action, and he isn't just waiting for a spot to happen. And you might say, Steve, why are you so worked up about this? Let me tell you why. So there was a match. I'm not going to say which promotion it was or when it was, that I was in the ring and someone had taken the turnbuckle pad off and it was held on via cable ties. And instead of dropping it out of the way, they left one cable tie on and they moved the turnbuckle pad into the center of the rope. So what I had to do for what felt like 8 minutes was ignore the fact that there was a bloody turnbuckle pad right in the center of where the main camera can see. So the audience, all they could see was a turnbuckle pad. And you may say, well, nobody will notice that. Let me tell you, people noticed. People came to me afterwards and said, why didn't you do anything about that turnbuckle pad? And I had to say, don't know what you're talking about, pal. So yeah, I just felt like that was worth a mention and a little behind the curtain.
It's what we've spoken about before. It's the difference between a good manager and a great manager, and it's those little, very, very little nuances that can make such a big difference in things making sense and being believable. And because while it may not be noticeable that it's happened, it would be noticeable if it hadn't happened. And that's 100%. The thing that people don't realise when stuff like this happens. It's like I say, as soon as you mentioned the turnbuckle pad being removed, I had an idea where this was going, even though I hadn't noticed it in the match.
No, you weren't there for the show that happened to me on either.
No, but knowing sort of having half of the training that you've had, and obviously spending a lot of time, obviously watching now good friends referee and helping give feedback and stuff, it's things that I pick up on of when they get moved accidentally. It's always in a referee's conscious mind, unconscious mind really. They get moved accidentally all the time, and you have to make sure they're back in place.
We pull them back up, yeah.
So yeah, if one gets moved purposely, you're not going to miss it because it's something that you're always scanning for. So for someone to make it that impossible for you to rectify the situation is a very good, very, very good use of a manager, really.
100%, and I loved it, and that just goes to show the Bobby Heenan of it all, because he was a fantastic manager. But yeah, just to hammer home this point, imagine looking at my face right now. If the audience can, the home audience can look at my face right now. Imagine this is the view of the ring, and I want you to imagine this can of Pepsi Max, other brands are available, is the turnbuckle pad. That's where it was the entire way through the match. Everyone could see it. I had to pretend to ignore it. So there you go.
Make refs' jobs easier, please.
Anyway, I'm not going to go on about that anymore. That was just my little rant. So we had some celeb guests after that, which was again Trump pleasing around Marla Maples, no doubt. We had the Fonz, we had Lou Ferrigno, and Chuck Norris, R.I.P. Anything to say about that? Or we just moving on?
Just a quick, oh, look who's here. Let's have a little...
Exactly.
I much prefer the way they do it now of just panning to different people in the crowd with like a little lower third of like, this is such a body.
We also saw Macaulay Culkin earlier, which I completely forgot to mention.
Remembered that it was someone famous.
Yeah.
Until the very end.
Yeah.
Go Home Alone.
Yeah, exactly that. Because they probably just thought it was a kid at some point.
Yeah, they did.
Right. So another thing we can move swiftly.
It was like, yeah,
it did feel very much like they just remembered last minute. It's like, oh no, he's someone we need to actually talk about. So let's talk about match 10 incredibly quickly because there's not a lot there. Earthquake and Jimmy Hart versus very unusual face Greg the Hammer Valentine in a squash match. Any thoughts about that whatsoever?
I've got no notes about it, so clearly not.
Did you even remember it was on the card? Because it was nothing.
To be fair, the next note, I'll let Gav say it. If Gav's got something to say, I'll let him say it.
Again, like, Greg was one of them wrestlers, a bit like Bravo. This wasn't enough there for me to give two shits about. Sorry, they just didn't have anything. There was nothing.
This was very much another one of those. I've just remembered, this is how memorable the match was. This is the match that I recognise Bobby Heenan's jacket.
Jimmy Hart's jacket.
Jimmy Hart's jacket. See, my god, yeah. See, this is how bad I am. But it was this match because I remember seeing Earthquake on the back of it, and I paid more attention to that than I did the match.
Honestly, it shouldn't have been there. There was no need.
It was yet another on the list of why is this match here? There was no point to the match. There didn't seem to be any storyline to the match. There was no championships on the line. It wasn't like a huge name that had to be on WrestleMania as far as I was like. It just seemed
Earthquake was pretty big. Earthquake had just come off a run with Hogan. But again, you don't need to have everybody on a pay-per-view card.
No. That's what it was. It was shoehorning as many names.
Yeah. Literally, I completely bypassed this match when it came to making notes. My notes go from, oh my god, Mr. Perfect needs to stop flipping, to LOD, best match of the night.
Oh, fair. LOD, best match of the night, allegedly, versus Power and Glory with the lovable Slick. Thoughts?
No idea who Power and Glory were, but LOD, Gav thinks that this match was cut short and it didn't go right. I think it was brilliant. It was just short, snappy, LOD, just bam, bam, bam.
Yeah, they were
done.
They were the biggest tag team on the planet.
Yeah, I agree. It was fine.
After so many matches that just seemed to drag on and on and on, and then so many shit squash matches, this felt like it was a quick, impactful. It didn't feel shit. It didn't feel like a squash match.
Very much was, but I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this.
What a rush. Paul Roma and Hercules as the tag team of Power and Glory. To be honest, kind of jobbers, really. Let's be honest. They didn't really have a big run. A lot of people have really started to appreciate them later in the timeline, sort of the last 10, 15 years again, mainly because of the tag team finish that they did with the Powerplex, where Hercules would suplex someone off the top rope, and then Paul Roma, big splash. FTR do it quite a lot. So the Powerplex is a great move. The tag team, not that great, okay, but they kind of fit in that category of the Beverly Brothers. Of they're there, but they're there to lose.
Yeah,
sort of people. Paul Roma would later go on to be part of what many consider to be the worst version of the Four Horsemen in history. So he often gets ridiculed for that. I didn't think he was that bad a worker. Was also a member of the Young Stallions. He was a decent worker, perhaps a bit too bland for some people. Sort of there. Really enjoyed the presentation of the Legion of Doom. Do you know that the Legion of Doom and the Road Warriors are kind of interchangeable terms, by the way?
Yeah.
Do you know why?
No.
So originally it was a faction called the Legion of Doom, which the Road Warriors were part of. And the other people in the faction were Precious Paul Ellering, who was the leader and the manager, along with King Kong Bundy and Jake the Snake Roberts. So that was the Legion of Doom, which is a rip-off of the supervillains from the Saturday morning TV cartoons. But the Road Warriors went by both names during the course of their career, really. Nothing else to talk about with that, really, I would say. Happy to move on?
Yeah.
Okay. Virgil with Roddy Piper versus the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. Thoughts, Lauren?
Bit racist?
Yeah, very racist.
That whole angle should never have been done.
The whole promo beforehand, just if we'll do whatever I tell him to do because I'll pay him to do it. It just, yeah.
I mean, I can understand. It was sort of the point, and I'm not excusing it, but the point was that that Virgil came back and was the hero at the end. But unfortunately, Virgil wasn't very talented and he wasn't very charismatic, so it felt like it never led to anything. My biggest issue with this match is it's never really about Virgil. It's about Ted. It's about Roddy Piper, and eventually it's about Sherry aligning with Ted, but at no point is it ever really about Virgil, and that's a shame.
I didn't really have much notes about the actual in-ring, apart from Virgil looked more like a boxer than a wrestler. But I did like the finish, the fact that it was the count out. Again, it's detrimental in the fact that it wasn't Virgil that got the win, basically, because it was the count out. But from watching obviously the video packages beforehand, it wasn't the first time that Virgil had made $1 Million Man lose because of a count out. So even though it was it seemed like Virgil was out of the equation, it was clearly a plan. And it contradicted what a lot of the commentary had been trying to put over, was that $1 Million Man was the brains, and that Virgil and Roddy between them didn't have, like, they were thick, basically, was what commentary were trying to put across. So yeah, I quite liked the fact that it continued, and it very much, it did give sort of Virgil that win, even though it didn't. Do you know what? It was.
No, I did. It's a classic. This is sort of the business model of the WWF at this point. They made more money off the house shows at this point, so I can tell you right now that they made more money saying, "Watch the rematch, Virgil. Will he finally take the $1 million belt? Find out at your local Pizza Hut near Poughkeepsie or wherever." That's very much the sort of business model there. And he would ultimately get the $1 million title for a very, very brief run as well. So there was a payoff, but it wasn't a payoff at Mania. So it just sort of fell flat, because for me at least. Yeah. And again, it was never really about him, which is a shame. Are you aware? Go on, sorry, Gav.
I was going to say, one of the rarest things for me at the minute with looking back at the stuff that I used to watch, I never liked Ted DiBiase. I thought it was plain, boring. As a kid, he wasn't my thing. Watching him back now, I actually think he's probably one of the best on the card.
Every time Ted DiBiase.
Every time you see him, he steals the show.
I must like a bad boy, because I'm a big fan of the heels, and from an early age I was a big fan of the heels, and Ted DiBiase was already.
But now I'm like, I watch back and I'm actually looking forward to watching more. To see how it actually was.
We don't have WrestleMania 4 on the docket anytime soon, but at one point I want to watch WrestleMania 4, because that really is the Ted DiBiase and Randy Savage show. But yeah, we'll move on. So what I was going to say was, do you know why they're able to call the $1 million title diamond encrusted?
Because it is.
It's got a singular diamond in the back of it.
Yeah.
You got it. So it's Cuban Sarconias.
I met Ted DiBiase at Comic-Con last year, and I got to see the title. That's how I know.
Fantastic. Good. That's fine. That was my little snippet.
Coming on for that, Ted DiBiase, absolutely lovely man.
Yes, he is. Yes.
So lovely, and his wife, sweetest woman I've ever met.
Yeah, it's a real shame what's been going on with them at the moment, really. Well, I'm going to move on. Okay, so let's talk about Virgil and his name. Do you know who that is a rib on, or who it's taking the mick out of?
No, the only Virgil I know is Thunderbirds.
Dusty Rhodes. So, Dusty Rhodes' real name is Virgil Runnels. So they call him Virgil as a jibe at Dusty Rhodes. When Virgil goes across to WCW, they rename him Vincent as a go at Vincent K. McMahon. So there you go. We're probably not going to talk about Virgil again, so I just thought I'd mention that.
Yes.
Right. Moving on, we see the Hulk Hogan T-shirt being burned in place of a flag. I'll just mention very briefly.
Flames. Jesus Christ!
It sure did, buddy. It really did go up in flames. Basically, they had just made flag burning. They made flag burning legal at this point, and the original idea that Jesse Ventura put forward was, why don't we burn the flag? And everyone said, no, including Sergeant Slaughter. He said he just didn't feel comfortable with it. But they settled on burning Hulk Hogan's T-shirt, which was still pure Americana. Match 3, the Mountie versus Tito Santana. Let's not talk about this for too much. No. Any thoughts on this, Lauren?
Match 3?
13. What did I say? 3? 13.
Have we really gone through 12 matches already?
We sure have, buddy. We sure have.
You know,
this match had no need to be on the card whatsoever.
Yeah,
agreed.
Honestly, I have 2 notes from this match.
Mm-hmm.
What was that first running spot?
Yeah.
And what was the point in that?
Yeah, I have nothing to say about this really. We'll talk about Jacques Rougeau and probably Tito Santana again when there's better matches to talk about. Cattle Prod was all right. Didn't have the stupid sound this time, and I quite like the fact that Jacques Rougeau blocked the ref from seeing him getting the cattle prod and using it. Quite like that, but there's nothing to talk about with this. It was another filler match. One of the last times we'd see Tito Santana before he became a bullfighter.
What I don't understand is how they have squeezed 14 matches into a WrestleMania and still had so many filler matches and filler segments. What the fuck?
Yeah. It's incredible, isn't it?
Like, they're putting on 2-night WrestleManias now.
For probably 40 matches.
When I said to you there was a lot to talk about with this show, I did not say it lightly.
It's a 3.5-hour show. I feel like I've been watching it for 3 days.
Yeah.
And we really need to wrap up this last match quickly because we're already on 2 hours and I don't want to be talking about the pay-per-view for 3.5 hours.
We are going to wrap it up.
Because no fucker's going to watch this.
Oh, they will.
They will. I trust in the process. Right, so, main event. Sergeant Slaughter with General Adnan against Hulk Hogan. Thoughts, Lauren?
I fell out with Sergeant Slaughter in this match.
Okay, tell me why.
When he got slingshotted into the turnbuckle, it was so obvious he threw himself into the ring post. That was my first issue. And then, why did he drag him back in? When he was battering him on the outside and he was down and he choked him. And I know I've skipped an awful lot of match here, but
that's okay.
It was just very back and forward and much of 6-1 half dozen the other. He's got him on the floor, outside, he's battering him, he's choking him with the TV cable. He could have retained his title. There and then.
So they made a big deal.
He picks him
up. I agree.
If he'd been disqualified. I mean, yeah, again, you've got ref's discretion as a title match. I can get on board with that. But why on earth, as a defending champion, if you have someone practically passed out on the floor, why would you pick them up and put them back in the ring? If you lose a count out, you retain your title.
And it wouldn't be so bad if he hadn't just said this in the promo before. He made a big deal out saying, well, I might get myself disqualified. I might get myself counted out. And then the referee proceeded to just not
and commentators were spending half the match going, maybe he's trying to get disqualified. Yet the ref didn't disqualify him.
What's mad about this is that he's sort of known for a few things, Sergeant Slaughter. I'll very, very briefly talk about the G.I. Joe deal before we move on. G.I. Joe, he was offered a deal as an action figure whilst he was with the WWF back in like 84. Because they had an upcoming toy deal coming with LJN, Vince said, no, he can't do it. So he went away for a little while. This is his return to the WWF, came back as a face, started turning heel. Again, we talked about the Iraqi sympathizer stuff. But one thing that he was known for, other than the G.I. Joe stuff, was the fact that he would often do bloodthirsty boot camp matches, which is basically a hardcore match. Bootstrap matches or boot camp. I don't know, one of them, which is basically hardcore matches. I don't understand why they didn't just make it a boot camp match.
Yeah.
Because it was a no DQ match, essentially, because the referee didn't do a thing.
Yeah.
There was a really stupidly obvious blade job as well. Did you see this?
With the little tiny chair shot?
The tiny chair shot on the outside, and Hulk Hogan turned into the camera, like that animal that goes like that. He basically turns into the camera and does this. And it was the worst and most obvious blading job I've ever seen in my life. Honestly, it wasn't a bad match, but there's also not a whole lot to say about the match itself. Other than the fact that it should have been DQ.
It was very much of
beat down.
Much of, yeah. It was 6-1, half dozen of the other. There was, like I say, my biggest issue was why you would put him back in after a count out, but then also when Hulk was in the submission, why not grab the ropes?
Did you hear Regis even say, why isn't he grabbing the rope? And the commentary just completely ignores him. Like, don't talk about that, Regis. Don't talk. Yeah. Because Regis was a wrestling fan, so he understood. Like, why isn't he just grabbing the ropes?
Yeah. And then you had General Adnan.
Yep.
Distracting the ref while Slaughter was pinning.
Yeah, I found that too. I wondered if he just forgot, because I knew that Hogan was blading during this. So I had two thoughts. I thought, first of all, blading is when you cut your head with a razor blade and blood comes out. For anyone that doesn't know.
Don't try this at home.
Don't try that at home. Right in the ring in front of people who've paid. No, I don't really enjoy blading. But yes, so there's two thoughts I had. The first thought was, has Adnan just forgot? Because he's had matches with Slaughter. Has he just in the heat of the moment forgot that Slaughter is the heel? That was the first thought I had. The second thought I had was, is he distracting the referee so Hogan or Slaughter can do a blade job on Hogan? But then I was like, as soon as I saw him go, I was like, well, that was obviously the blade job then, so I don't understand. Made no sense whatsoever, incoherent. Despite the rule breaks, despite the incoherent of all that sort of stuff, and despite the fact that you can't see shoulders when someone's got a flag over you, I didn't hate this match.
No, I didn't hate it. But it was also... They were just past their prime at this point, both of them.
They sure were, Gav.
I think the pay-per-view was past it. Like, it was just done.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think anybody. It was like they'd just taken everything too far.
Like I say, for me, the match that everyone should go and watch off this show is the blindfold match.
Yeah, definitely.
It really is.
Your promotion would be like, do a blindfold match, guys.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's bring this one to a close then. Again, lots to talk about during this. Do you guys agree with my summary of the blindfold match being the best on the card, or do you have a different take?
No, I think I probably agree. Like I say, Bossman and Mr. Perfect, aside from my hatred of Mr. Perfect's flipping, it was a very good match. And again, I also enjoyed Taker and Snooker.
Superfly. Yeah.
But yeah, I think if you're wanting something sort of entertaining, I would probably say Big Boss Man, Mr. Perfect was probably the more entertaining wrestling match. If you're wanting something to go and sort of actually watch and understand sort of how wrestling can work a little bit more, definitely go watch the blindfold match. And again, the Taker match, because Taker will probably forever be one of the best to ever do it.
Gav, anything to add?
Where was his boots in that match? He didn't have his Saddam Hussein boots on. That let me down a little bit, but other than that, no.
Excellent. Well, thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Educating Lauren. One final question.
The next WrestleMania next, that right?
We are, in fact, doing the next WrestleMania next. So the next time you view...
April now. It's Easter weekend as this goes out. So we have current Mania 42 in like 2 weeks.
Something like that.
So 2 weeks after that, we are then covering WrestleMania 8, yeah?
We sure are, Daddy-O. We sure are.
Cool.
So one final question for you then, Lauren. We've talked about race riots. We've talked about world wars. We've talked about all sorts of shenanigans. Do you feel educated?
Yeah. I feel like I'm educated that this type of wrestling, it needs to be left where it is.
Excellent. Thank you. Go on, Gav.
You're not allowed also after Steve's just had his one last question. No,
he's allowed whatever he wants. Go on, Gav. Also,
I know why my dad now fucking hated wrestling when I used to watch it.
On that bombshell, Thank you so much for joining us. And if you want to appear on the regular Primetime Pastime show, please let us know, and we will arrange that. But for tonight or today, depending on when you're listening to this, have a great day, evening, afternoon, whatever. See you later.
Bye.